Now, there's a lot of people who aren't confident, similar to when they were in your situation previously, didn't have a background in finance, uh, have never even looked at anything to do with investing. Is there anything those types of people could do first to maybe build that confidence and actually get into this world and take control of their finances?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is exactly what I did, right? I was one of the people you're describing. I would say two things to start, and two contradictory things, if you will. One is the cliche is kind of true, right? If I can do it, you can too. But also, second thing is this is not for everyone. And what I mean by that is I fell in love with the practice, but not everyone will. And that's completely fine. I put, hours and hours of work into the learning and the practice and the training before actually using also real money and all of that. So I would say you don't have to become a financial investor or professional investor or even your own private investor, but you do need a minimum level of understanding. So you may outsource the work, but you never want to outsource your understanding. At the very least, financial education allows you to choose the right experts, right? And to be able to understand, like we said, if their approach is aligned with you, your needs, and how you want to do this. And that's your foundation, that kind of certain level of knowledge to really understand and be able to evaluate, be able to ask the right questions, let's say. Now, from that foundation, if you wanted to become more involved in your finances, there are, the way I see it, three levels of engagement, right? The first is what I would call passive ownership. So this is where you would set things up for automated compounding and let time do the work. If you're young, this really works in your favor because time is, really, really on your side. The second way would be what I would call selective participation. So this is kind of a scenario where you would have some kind of um, work set up automatically and you would engage more actively in some parts, but you can comfortably stay within the industries and companies that you know. So this is not about making a big leap, right? You can find investments in the areas that you're an expert in. And I'd say most of us, if not all, have an area of expertise that come from our professional backgrounds. If, for me, it was architecture or construction or real estate, etc. The third level is kind of the most in-depth level. So this is where I would call it active management, right? And this is where you would take full ownership and manage your capital entirely. But the key is you choose your own level. You don't have to go all the way to the 100% level. Um, you know, Investing is also an affinity. It's an art and a science, and it's a very personal thing. And it has to fit your character. So at a minimum, I would say everyone needs a level of financial understanding, and that's not about becoming obsessed with money. On the contrary, it's about understanding enough so you don't even have to think about money anymore.
Mm.
It's about setting things up in a way so money stops occupying mental space. And instead, you feel empowered and you feel like you're capable of building wealth for yourself. And that's really the mental shift as well that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love the way you've layered that so you can, find a tier that suits you. You don't need to be, like you said, deep into literature and obsessed and investing professionally to get control of your finances. A big problem I see nowadays, though, is the amount of misinformation and poor financial education online. So, if there's somebody listening now and they don't know anything like that, they just want to get control of their finances or they want to find out more, is there any direction you would send them in? Is there anything they should look at? Where should they go to educate themselves?
In that sense, I'm quite old fashioned. I would say books.
I was looking, yeah.
I wouldn't go to YouTube. There was a lot of good stuff online, but there was also a lot of less good stuff. And if you have no knowledge whatsoever, it's really hard to discern what's good and what's not. And it's a slippery slope, and it's a very risky environment, I would say. I would start with books, and then from there you would be able to discern. From there you would be able to layer on top of that, videos or information online, because you'll be able to discern what's what and what's in line with what you've been learning and whatnot. For me, my entry into all of this world of investing was Warren Buffett. Now, the way I invest today is not exactly the way he does it, but that was my entry point, and that's a very safe, solid, place to start learning. So I would say, you start from there, and then the books will lead you. The books mention another book. There is the bibliography in the book. It goes from one to the next, and it's a really interesting thing. And after a while, if you read a book that is completely different, philosophy or a different way of looking at it, then you would know instinctively that this is not for me, or I don't agree with this, or you would learn and challenge what you have learned so far. It becomes, I believe all of us are smart enough, once given the right tools, to be able to work with those. You just have to start in a safe, good information place, and not start by misinformation. Then it's very difficult to unlearn what you've learned.